All right, we are live. Coming in. Excellent. Well, welcome everybody to our presentation on a day in the life of a real estate agent. So, we are very excited to bring some information to you this evening. John, why don't you tell our audience who this webinar is designed for and what they can hopefully get out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. This is designed for anyone who has ever considered or is currently considering a potential career in real estate, or if you've begun to dabble in a career in real estate, to maybe see what a good structured day in the life would be like to set yourself up for success.
Wonderful. Excellent. Let's jump on in and get rolling with the presentation. We'll kick it off and just kind of talk a little bit more about what John just touched upon, the importance of understanding a real estate agent's daily life. You know, there's certainly a lot of agents out there. It's a very competitive industry. And if you want to get to the top or be one of the premier agents in your marketplace, wherever that may be, understanding a consistent schedule and consistent efforts will certainly help you get to where you want to be. So it's definitely key for both newcomers and active agents who are seeking growth. So let's jump on in with a little introduction. We'll start with Jonathan here.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. So my name is John Tatro, head of agent growth here at the Slocum Home Team. Going on about 14 years in the business. Can't believe how fast that has gone by. I have a background in trade school and construction. That's what originally piqued my interest in real estate. But we have a poll here to see what made you want to consider a career in real estate. So love to hear all of your thoughts on that. Currently also involved in our local association here at Kent, Washington, director there, and their RPAC chair.
You also didn't mention that you are a reality TV star. I was looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that background.
I wouldn't say reality TV star. 2 appearances on HGTV, Beachfront Bargain Hunt and the Lakefront Bargain Hunt renovation. That was an awesome time, though. Enjoyed filming that with them.
Excellent. Wonderful. A bit about myself. I'm the team leader at the Slocum Home Team. Been in the business now for 18 years. I'm a third-generation realtor. Our company is celebrating 75 years in business this year, so big milestone year for us here at Slocum Real Estate and Slocum Insurance. A few recognitions. I was awarded a 40 Under 40 award winner for Providence Business News, current president of the Kent, Washington Association of Realtors, on the board of the Rhode Island Association, Showing Time Plus Agent Advisory Board, and certainly love my continuing education with all those designations and certifications. So just a little bit about us, kind of gives us a little background as to why we're here today and a little bit more about our team. So, you know, why do we have the authority to even talk about what a successful day in the life of a real estate agent looks like? As mentioned, we've been around a long time, 75 years here in the Warwick area. Last year, we ranked 7th out of over 7,000 realtors and teams on a statewide basis for transactions, and ranked first in both Kent County and in Warwick. So that is a little bit about us, our background, and why we're here today. Anything to add, John, before I continue on?
No, you killed that one.
Thanks, bud. Well, why don't you share with our audience a little bit about the agenda tonight and what we'll be going over?
Yeah, so here's what we're going to cover tonight, and then we'll certainly take all of your questions at the end. But first, a career overview. What's included in a career, different tasks and duties that you can expect in the real estate industry. Believe it or not, it's not all just glamour, showing fancy houses, driving fancy cars, and hanging out by the pool, as you may see on TV. A morning routine is a key part of a successful day. Then we'll get into planning the rest of your day, daily planning, and why that's important. Various lead pillars and where you can expect to find your business. Then we'll get into property listings and showings. I believe we have a few more here. Then we'll get into client meetings and follow-ups, admin tasks associated with being a real estate agent. Personal development is always important to always hone your skills, sharpen the axe, as we like to say. And also having a good work-life balance is crucial for long-term success, avoiding burnout, and different technology and tools. Oh, and we have some more. Structuring your day for success. The differences between a solo agent and being part of a real estate team. What you can expect to potentially earn in the real estate industry. And then we'll save some time for Q&A.
Wonderful. Let's jump right into a career overview. There's a lot of different ways how you can make a living in the real estate business. But we'll primarily focus on being an actual real estate agent, assisting buyers and sellers with the sale and purchase of properties. In order to do that, analyze values, we guide and assist them throughout the marketing of specifically a listing, understand their clients' needs for a tailored solution, negotiate on their behalf, conduct showings and open houses, manage contracts and documentation, market properties via advertising, and stay informed on market trends. So it's a little bit about the essential roles and responsibilities of a sales agent.
There are also some various career paths and ways for growth within the industry, aside from being the sales agent that we're going to talk mostly about. It's a great way to start, to learn the industry, and to really build a business. But some other options for advancement is advancing to a senior agent or a team leader. You can transition into management and be a sales manager or an office manager. You could become a broker or own your own brokerage someday. You can expand into related fields such as property management, mortgage lending, appraisal. There's other options there. There's also specialization in niches like luxury properties or commercial real estate, relocation, as Nick has a number of designations there. There's also real estate investment and development. There's education and training roles within real estate. There's real estate schools. You can be an instructor while being a sales agent. And there's certainly opportunities for regional and national influence through realtor associations or coaching organizations.
John, what's your experience been so far with getting involved in the Realtor Association? Do you feel it's worthwhile? Or I know it's been a newer development for you on your end versus my end, but curious on your thoughts on that.
Very worthwhile, very eye-opening, I would say. Certainly learning a lot and seeing a lot of different aspects that I never saw or really realized how much time and effort went into these things. But definitely worthwhile and very eye-opening, I would say.
I would agree. I think it's definitely a wonderful way to stay on top of both national and local trends to make great relationships. And in this business, cooperating is one of the key components or functions of being a successful realtor, as we do often have to work with each other. We are in competition with each other. We also need to maintain a good positive reputation and maintain those relationships to hopefully get transactions to the finish line. So there's a little bit about the career overview. Here we'll talk a little bit about the importance of morning routines. You know, if you stay in bed until 11 a.m. and kind of roll in to the office to catch up on some emails and then get back to the golf course. Nothing against golfing, that's for sure. But, you know, by 3 p.m., it's going to be very difficult to stay or be successful in this business. We both believe on our end it's critical to start your day off with income-producing activities, the right mindset, in making things happen, setting yourself up for success the rest of the day. So it does set that tone. It enhances your mental clarity and productivity and allows time for self-improvement and personal goals. So mornings are huge. You need to treat this career like a career, not just a hobby, if you intend to be successful as a real estate agent.
You have a good morning routine, don't you, Nick?
We do, yes. I think we've always had a good morning routine, but we've certainly started that a little bit earlier these days. Now, this is a sample successful morning routine. Not saying you have to go this route, but John and I were always big proponents of being in the office first thing in the morning, whether that be 8 or 9 o'clock, things along those lines. And we always start our day with those prospecting activities because it's critical in this business, which we'll talk about in a little bit, to continually follow up with your leads, with your prospects, and continually trying to fill your pipeline of upcoming business. But just recently, we've started an even earlier morning routine where we get up, rise and shine at 5 a.m., and we hold each other accountable to start our day with a little bit of exercise, which helps that clarity, helps our overall health, obviously, and starts our day in the right way. So again, this sample routine is an early start, some physical exercise, some meditation and mindfulness, thinking about what you're going to establish on that day for your goals, organize and prioritize your day, have some breakfast and get rolling. So what are your thoughts and feelings on our recent 5 a.m. club, John?
I love it. There's certain times where the alarm goes off at 5 and it's like, oh man, I don't know about this. But I'll tell you, as soon as the feet hit the floor and the day is rolling, I'm so happy I did it. The energy level, the focus, is there's a noticeable difference throughout the day, especially in the earlier part of the day. You get to the office, I'm ready to go, I'm motivated, I'm energized, and you've already accomplished something, you've done something challenging, you've pushed yourself through something, before the sun even comes up nowadays. So it's a great start to the day, and just as you're ready to roll and push through all those activities first thing in the morning.
I agree. So let's talk about daily planning, why it's important. Actually creating a plan provides structure. It clarifies your priorities for the day. It balances both your professional and your personal life. It helps with time management and employing techniques to optimize your productivity and preventing burnout. Also, by utilizing tools, you can, kind of handle your entire business through things like your CRM or your key performance indicator reporting system, whatever that might be. And we'll talk more about technology in a little bit. But it also allows you to both measure and track your continual improvement and your actual business. So, what you measure, you can track, and it's definitely critical to have something that you can look back on every day and adapt your strategies as needed.
Does it usually happen if it's not in your schedule?
No, it does not. So time blocking is critical. Wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about lead generation, why it's so critical. I'm a firm believer that having the ability to generate a lead, an interested buyer or seller who is open-minded to talking to you about utilizing your services for selling a home or buying a home, is the most critical thing that you need to understand how to do to be a successful real estate agent, especially if you're a solo agent on your own. If you cannot generate a lead or a prospect, it's going to be very difficult to maintain your lifestyle and have this be a successful career for you.
Absolutely. That's your biggest asset, is the ability to generate a lead and make relationships. And relationships is something we'll get into as well, but having that buyer or seller there for you.
For sure. I think one of the greatest pieces of advice we both received from one of our mentors, my father, our principal broker, is the secret to this business is TTP. If that doesn't work, TTMP. What does that stand for, John?
Talk to people, and if it doesn't work, you have to talk to more people.
That's right. And that's what's going to help you generate leads and prospects who are open-minded to working with you as a realtor. So let's talk about potential lead pillars. I think if you just kind of fly by the seat of your pants, it's going to be very difficult to have a structure and a business that is sustainable over the long term. So having 3 to 5 lead pillars that you are extremely successful on and where you maintain your focus and clarity, that's going to help your career really take off. So there's certainly a lot of different options here. And certain people will be better at others. Everyone has their strong suit. But I do think identifying 3 to 5 that you commit to and working over the long term will set you up for success. And John, why don't you take it away and kind of review a few of those potential lead pillars?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to be clear, like Nick said, you want to focus on 3 to 5 of these. If you try to do all of these, you're going to spread yourself too thin. You're not going to be focused. You're not going to be an expert on any of them. So try to focus on a few that you think will best suit you. But your sphere of influence, I think that's an important one for everyone to build a long-term successful real estate career.
What is your sphere of influence, John?
That is anyone that you already know, your friends, your family, your friends of friends, friends of family, past classmates, past coworkers, anyone who, when they hear your name, will have a positive impression of you. Those are people who already know, like, and trust you. So that's going to be your best source of business.
I know when I first got into the business, that was taught to me as under a different name, but it was called the spare tire list. And the theory behind that was when the car breaks down and you need a spare tire, who are you going to go to? You're going to go to that list of family, friends, and your closest contacts who hopefully think pretty highly of you and are willing to refer you or use you to buy or sell a home.
Absolutely. In addition to that, you can get into content creation. There's a lot of people, influencers these days, as you've probably heard them on TikTok and Instagram. And that's not really what it's all about here. It's not about the views and the likes. It's more about the impression you're making on people. And we always say that can be valuable. If you put good content out there and it's viewed by only 100 people, that's an auditorium full of people, 100 or 200 people. So you don't need thousands or millions of views as long as you're touching the right people. So content creation is a good lead pillar for some people. There's online portals like Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com to generate leads that way. There's other various real estate websites. There's Google PPC. There's social media networking. The key to social media is what, Nick?
Being social.
Being social. Don't be a lurker. Don't just scroll and lurk in the background. Be social on social media. You can also do paid ads on social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. There's email marketing. Email marketing is a great way to stay top of mind for a lot of people and provide some value and share information. There's community involvement in networking, another great pillar. Get involved in your community or become a regular at networking events and become the go-to person when it comes to real estate. Door knocking is a great way, and that ties into the next one, which is geofarming. Farming, pick a neighborhood, few hundred houses, contact them regularly, whether it be postcards, we do pumpkins, we do flags, but get out there, knock on the door, say hello, introduce yourself so that they can put a face to the name. So 2 great pillars right there.
For those who are new and may not be familiar with the term, it is kind of when you adopt a neighborhood and you actually make 10 to 12 touch points with that neighborhood each year. And when John says we do pumpkins, we actually load up trailers and deliver pumpkins to the front yard of every one of these homes. We place a small U.S. flag in the front yard of every one of these homes on the 4th of July. So it's a way to build a relationship with a specific neighborhood over the course of time.
Absolutely. It's a good time as well. And in the community, they start to share it on social media. It's really a great event, really. In addition, you can do cold calling. It's not the most pleasant activity, but it's a great way. It's a numbers game, but it's a great way to generate business. Nick, you had success with open houses early in your career, didn't you?
Yes. When I got licensed, I was 21 years old, and I got into the business, young, fresh face. Thankfully, I had some wonderful senior agents, we'll call them, who were open-minded to having me help them out. And I basically obtained 90% of my business my first few years in my career by holding 3 to 4 open houses every single weekend. It would be 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and I was not great at them at first, but eventually learned how to talk to people, how to ask the right questions, and how to convert an open house attendee into a client who was open-minded to working with me.
Yep. It's where buyers spend their weekends. If they're
Mm-hmm.
looking for a home, they're probably going to open houses. So it's a great place to meet buyers. You can also do seminars, workshops, events, first-time home buyer seminars, seller seminars, informational seminars there. So another great way to get in front of and provide value and education to people who may be thinking of a move. There's for sale by owners, FSBOs, as they call them, and expired listings. You can try to contact them and generate some business and some listings that way. And an old tried but true method of direct mail.
Absolutely. Now, this might seem a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot of different potential options for you to explore here. I would say try a few that kind of speak to you or resonate with you, but many of these aren't going to be successful right out of the gate. It takes long-term, consistent effort. And again, focusing on 3 to 5. When you have those 3 to 5 down, you can start to add pillars as you get further into your career. But to start, focus on a small number, get very good at them, and the business will come.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Moving forward to the fun part, everyone thinks this is what we do all day, is actually showing houses and listings. And it's actually a very small percentage of our business and what we do each and every day in this business. So, John, talk a little bit about how you handle pre-showing, at the showing, post-showing, and then streamlining that process.
Absolutely. So when I'm scheduling showings for clients, let's put our buyer's hat on here. And we're going to attend some showings with buyers. First, it comes down to scheduling and mapping out, a route geographically that makes sense. If they want to see 3 houses, you're going to look at where they are. You're going to set them up. I usually allow 20 to 30 minutes per showing, depending on the size of the home, and you get to know how long certain buyers take in each home. But you have to map it out and schedule those showings. Then prior to going out there, you want to prep for those showings. So we'll usually print the information that's on MLS, the listing itself, We're going to see if there are disclosures from the seller attached there that we can provide to the buyer. That's going to have key information, such as the age of the roof, the age of the heating system, if they ever had water in the basement, those types of things. If there's floor plans or a plat map, we'll provide all of that information as well. Put it all together so we have for the clients when we get to the house.
I think it's also important to start to build that relationship with that listing agent right when you're starting to book that showing. If your client likes the home and wants to proceed forward with an offer, having a working relationship and knowing what's important both to that listing agent and to the seller is going to help your clients make an offer that stands out versus the competition.
Absolutely. Great points. And the same thing at the showing. When you get there, try to buddy up with that listing agent. Continue to ask questions. Find out what's important to the seller, and try to show to that agent that you're easygoing, easy to work with, and make them want to work with you. Now, at the showing, you're also going to be working with your buyer. I like to tell buyers we're going to look at completely different things when we're going through the home. I tell my buyers, you're going to look and see if the layout works for you, if the room sizes are right, and if you can see yourself here. I'm going to take a look at the siding, the roof, the chimney, the windows, the grading and the foundation when we're outside. I'll check out that heating system and that electrical panel and look at those sorts of items when we're going through the inside.
Are you a home inspector?
Together, I am not a home inspector, but sometimes you can spot things that you may be able to get ahead of or point out to them and say, hey, I think that might be an issue.
And that comes with experience. As a newer agent, whether you're looking to grow your business or just getting into the field, I would certainly recommend trying to tag along to as many home inspections as you can. You're going to learn about these types of components of homes and these systems that the normal everyday buyer doesn't quite understand or grasp. So it's certainly critical to get those tips and tricks, know where to look for water stains, know how to identify an older roof versus a newer roof. Same thing with heating systems, looking for cracks in foundations, things along those lines. That's where you can bring value to your client and, again, have their best interest in mind.
Absolutely. So we're going to look at different things. And then when we're done with the showing, we're going to ask any questions that we may have. And then we're going to go outside and we're going to regroup, share our thoughts, and decide next steps. After the showing, if they're not interested, we're going to talk about why this wasn't the one for them. We're going to share that feedback with the listing agent. That's always the courteous thing to do. And we all want to have a good working relationship with agents in the industry. But we're also going to chat together and say, all right, if this wasn't the one, why was that? Should we adjust the way we're searching? Was it something maybe that we weren't expecting? The photos look better than the house. It could be as simple as that. But are there ways that we should adjust the way we're searching? Maybe we learned something about our wants versus needs at this showing. So we'll have a debrief session there. If it is the one for you, then our next step is we're going to go back and we're going to look at some numbers and some recent sales in the area to help our clients come up with numbers for an educated offer.
Fantastic. John, if you had to take a wild guess at the total number of hours you work every week, all 20 of them, just kidding, a lot more than
all
that.
20. 10 of those are by the pool.
What percentage of your day-to-day business is actually showing property?
I would say on average, this is probably high, but I'm going to say an hour or two. Average.
The whole week or per day?
Daily.
Okay. Yeah.
Daily.
I was going to say 5 to 10%.
Yeah, you have several hours on the weekend, maybe an hour or two here and there, evenings during the week. But we put in a lot of hours, certainly more than 40. And a small percentage of that is actually out showing houses. It's a lot of behind-the-scenes work.
Absolutely. We'll dive into that more going forward. So let's talk about client meetings and follow-ups. The most important thing I believe in this business is if you come from a point of service and you understand it's not about your timeline, it's about your client's timeline, you're going to be set up for success and you're going to be a wonderful agent long-term in this business. But the problem is when you come across with that, what we like to call commission breath. If you come across with that attitude of with that hard sale kind of mentality, it's just never going to work for you, in my opinion. So you need to nurture these client relationships over the long term. You need to build trust, and you can't let these people slip through the cracks because you have to stay top of mind so that when they are ready to buy or sell, they're thinking about you. So communication is critical. You need to listen to their needs, their wants, and you have to master follow-up. Now, John and I over the years have demoed and tried almost every single CRM out there, customer relationship management system. And I am a firm believer that almost any of them will work for you as long as you're committing to using it on a daily basis. We were recently at a conference, and there was a very impressive young agent, about 27 years old, who was doing insane amounts of business. And someone asked her what her secret sauce was, her key to success. And she said CRM hygiene, which is doing what we see on number 3 here, mastering follow-up. She said every single day she spends from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. to noon in that database following up with everyone there. It wasn't TikTok. It wasn't fancy little videos. It wasn't content. It was staying in the CRM and talking to people. So definitely critical there.
I thought that was great. And committing to that every single day, you really are setting yourself up for success. It's all about consistency and commitment.
100%. Wonderful. Now, if you're a solo agent, admin tasks are going to be part of the business. Both John and I did them for a very, very long time. There's really no way around it. A lot of our business is simply paperwork, administrative type tasks. So why don't you run through some of these, John, of what a real estate agent could expect to be doing from an admin perspective on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, absolutely. Updating that CRM that Nick was talking about with the latest client interactions. Now, you're going to do this whether you're on a team or not. You're going to update that CRM when you have calls or texts or appointments with notes. What did you talk about? What are the next steps? So you always have that to refer back to. Then you're going to file and track client contracts and key dates. Now, this is something that with a team, somebody is going to look out for on your behalf. And help you out with. If you're a solo agent, this is on you. You need to track important dates such as inspection deadlines, mortgage deadlines, closing dates, and much more to protect your client's interest, protect their deposit, and keep that transaction on track for a successful closing. In addition, you're going to have to manage documents for listings and transactions. You're going to have to handle the paperwork for that file, making sure it's all done, it's all organized and submitted to your office or whoever's taking a look at that in a timely manner. You're going to oversee deadlines, coordinate showings, coordinate appraisals. You're in charge of scheduling if you're a solo agent as well. In addition, you'll have to keep financial records current and categorized, keep track of those deposits and anything else financial. You're going to have to handle invoices and commissions. The attorneys are going to ask for invoices from you. You're going to have to keep track of that, either generate them or ask your office for them. But it's all on you there as well. Streamline your daily correspondence and meeting schedule. Again, it's all on you. You have to organize that schedule. We talked about time blocking before. So in addition to these admin tasks, don't forget you need to time block yourself some time for the tasks that made you busy. Those income producing activities, as we like to say. Send out regular updates and newsletters to clients from a prospecting standpoint. Newsletters, again, stay top of mind. But you're also going to want to send out regular updates to clients. Keep buyers informed on new listings or updates on their transaction. Sellers, whether they have an active listing or if their home is under contract, you want to follow up with them regularly. Keep everyone informed. Do not forget to communicate. In fact, over-communicate to keep everyone in the loop. Do you have input on that, Nick?
I do. I mean, you hear horror stories or negative reviews from consumers about real estate agents, and more often than not, it's this person put a sign in my front yard and I didn't hear from him again for X amount of time. So I think the most important thing you can do is over-communicate. You should schedule it. And I would say earlier on in your career, I would do more than you even think is necessary. It is important that your clients never are guessing or asking what comes next. I know that's always our goal when we built our team and our structure, was that our clients always knew the next step in the process. It is critical for them to feel comfortable and confident that they're working with a true professional.
Absolutely. It's always, here's what's happening now and here's what's coming next. So they're ready for it.
Wonderful. All right, let's move along. We're also firm believers in personal development. Always sharpening that axe, as John mentioned earlier, and learning about what's working in this business, what's not working, and ways to just become that true subject matter expert on all things real estate is critical. We'll be quite honest. We just recently jumped into coaching with the Tom Ferry organization late last year. And I think it's one of the best things that we've ever done in our entire business careers. I wish we did it years earlier, but even though we're brand new to coaching, not, fairly new to coaching, I should say, we've always both had a love for learning, whether it's reading industry publications, what's been going on, from our national association, Inman's, all the different, leaders in the industry that are out there. We want to know what's going on and seeing all different viewpoints. So having that personal development or commitment to learning is critical to not only become successful, but continue to see that grow over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfectly said.
Thank you. Next, we'll talk about a little bit of work-life balance. You can see my lovely family there. This is why we do what we do. We need to get out there and obviously earn a living for our families. You have to love what you do, but you also have to make time for your family. This business can easily consume you. The more and more that you become obsessed, which I think you almost need to get to the level, if you're hoping to be one of the top producers in the area, you almost have to be obsessed, but you also have to be obsessed with managing your time. We've both gone through periods in our life where we are better at this than others. But you almost have to treat your family life like an appointment. You have to block out time. Like, I know I literally block out time when my daughter has a field hockey game, or this afternoon when I left the office to bring my youngest to dance class because my wife was out with my oldest going to field hockey practice, so you have to schedule that time. You have to treat it like an appointment. Nothing can change that. It'll be one of the quickest ways to a miserable life, even if you're extremely successful, if you can't master this. John, if you want to share anything on your experience with the work-life balance?
Yeah, like we said earlier, if it's not in your schedule, it's not going to happen. And if you put family time in your schedule and respect it like an appointment, you can have a great work-life balance. But if you don't, and then a buyer wants to see something, a seller wants to meet with you, you can very quickly fall into a bad habit of just filling, what could be family time and what would have been your only family time with appointment. So put it in your calendar like an appointment and respect it like an appointment.
And one tip here as well is when you have a client, say I'm a buyer, I reach out to John, he's my agent, and I say, John, I really want to see 123 Main Street tomorrow night at 6:00. If you have family time booked, you're not telling that person, I'm sorry, I have this family commitment or personal commitment or whatever it might be. You don't need to share all those details. You simply say, I'm already booked with another appointment at that time. Would Friday morning or Saturday afternoon work better for you? If you give other options, you can control your schedule. It doesn't always work, but if you can strive to get to that point where you have the ability to do that, and some markets are easier to do that than others, that's really how you need to treat the business and those requests that come in for all different hours of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, usually works out and people are fine with it.
For sure. Wonderful. Moving along. We're firm believers in technology. There's so many tools out there, that's for sure. This is just a quick snapshot of some tools that we use. But we recently did a tech audit of all the different tools that we use, and this list could go on for days. But these are some of the key ones that we feel are critical to our business, starting with the CRM. I know we already talked a little bit about what CRM is, but John, go a little bit deeper on a CRM, why it's critical, what it handles, and how you would use that in your day-to-day business.
Absolutely. So this is where, for example, that sphere that we talked about earlier, your friends, your family, friends of friends, friends of family, they should all be in here right out of the gate. And then if you're doing any of those other lead pillars, such as Zillow or Homes.com, where you'll have those inbound leads, or anyone you meet at a networking event, anyone you add to your sphere, they should all go into your CRM. And that's where you're going to keep track of them. That's where you should call and text them. That's where you should book appointments and have notes about all of this. If you call to follow up with someone and they're not ready now, but they may be in 6 months, but when you call them today, they're baking a cake for their son's, 5th birthday party, and their dog Freddie's barking in the background. When you call them in 6 months, you can ask how the dog Freddie's doing, or you can ask how the birthday party was, and they're going to think, wow, my goodness, Nick really pays attention. Or if you meet with someone and you talk about a particular price, or they have certain updates on the house, and then months go by, you're going to have that documentation to reference. In addition to that, you can set tasks so you always remember to go back and follow up with people appropriately. Without that, you're just simply not going to follow up with people the way you should.
I know it seems, especially early on in your career, I'll remember that. Why would I forget something along those lines? But trust me, the further you get into your career, when you go from 10 contacts, 20 contacts, 100 contacts to 30,000 contacts, it becomes much more difficult to remember those types of details and tasks. So certainly very, very critical. I'm staring at one poster that my father gave me when I first entered the business. It says one today. And the goal was to keep adding one person every single day into your CRM. So you want to keep talking to people. You want to keep adding people into that database and following up with them appropriately. So certainly a very, very key component to a successful real estate career. I would say probably the most key component in my opinion.
Agreed.
Excellent. So we'll move on to the next one. We didn't use this for a long, long time, but I got to say it is an amazing tool that we added a couple of years back, maybe 3 years ago. It's for what we call KPIs, or key performance indicators. Now, this is a way for us to treat our business like a business. We now understand how many calls it takes to set an appointment, how many appointments it takes to meet a client, how many clients you need to meet to sign a client, to whether that's a listing agreement or a buyer agreement, how many of those signed clients we need to get to a closed client. So you can reverse engineer your business and say, if I want X closings, I need to have Y conversations. So it is a simple way to understand how your business breaks down, but also identify weak points in your business. If you're not signing clients at the same rate that others in your office or on your team might be, that could be a way to say, hey, listen, maybe I need to improve my buyer presentation skills or my listing presentation skills, and acknowledge that, hey, listen, John, maybe we should sit down and can we role play this out a little bit so I can get better and hopefully add more clients into my pipeline.
Great points. And the time blocking we talked about earlier, if you need to have, 15 conversations a day, you can time block that, block an hour, block 2 hours and say 15 conversations. Or if your goal is to set an appointment a day, time block it. On average, it takes me this long to set an appointment. So I'm blocking that time to stay on top of the numbers I need, knowing if I hit the early numbers, the conversations, the appointments, the rest will ultimately take care of itself.
For sure. Moving on, next one, we use Curator. We use this for both our website and email marketing platforms. I won't spend too much time on this one, but I do believe it is imperative to have some type of online presence. And I say that because in 2024, and really for the last 10 plus years, the first interview is not in person. It is online. Before people ever even consider calling you, they are Googling your name. They're looking for what type of web presence you have. Is it professional? Is it informative? Are you a subject matter expert? Can they have full faith and confidence that you can handle their real estate goals? So whether that be Facebook, Instagram, your website, all of the above, when somebody searches for you, what do they find? It is critical.
Absolutely. Nail on the head. First interview is before you even have a clue they're considering hiring you.
For sure. Moving on, next is dotloop. We use online files, e-file management. This is for e-signatures, all of the required paperwork, things along those lines. I still recall early on in the business when you'd actually sit down with a seller and sign 4 copies of a purchase and sales agreement in blue ink and deliver all the different copies, one to the seller, one to the buyer, one to the buyer's agent, one to the listing agent. That's not how business is conducted anymore. Most of it is done digitally through e-signatures. So whether it's dotloop, DocuSign, Authentisign, there are a lot of great options out there, but we choose to use dotloop. Break down showing time for us, John.
Absolutely. Next is showing time, a great tool. So when you have a listing, you can set this tool up for people to book showings. If your sellers give you certain times, you can set those times up to automatically approve showings, or you can have it send a request to both you and the seller that you both have to approve showings. Working with a buyer, it's a great way to set up your tours there as well. And another awesome feature is if you utilize this for a listing, you can then generate reports. It automatically asks for feedback from people who view the home. So you get that feedback, you can share it with the seller, and it tracks activity. How many showings have you had? What is the feedback? And it gives you great reports that you can then share with your clients.
I wish more people would use it. I really do. Whether it be that or another showing service, but far too many agents in our area still rely on manual calls, texts, and emails. And there's definitely a better way to do it. So I wish we had a higher adoption rate there, but it's still an insanely valuable tool.
Absolutely.
Great. And the last one we want to cover today is Google. I mean, we use it for almost everything, email, calendar, online documents through Google Drive. I mean, you name it, the Google suite of services is impressive. Most everyone knows how to use it, but it's a great way to stay organized, and you're going to need that in this business.
Absolutely.
All right. So what would a normal weekly schedule look like for a top producing agent, John? What would you recommend seeing in their daily schedule?
What we're looking at here is critical, and that's good time blocks. So let's start with Monday here. We're going to do a winner's circle and lead follow-up. So that's something we're big on here with our team. And we start Mondays and Fridays with our winner's circle. So that's at 8:30. Lay out a great income-producing activity, as we like to call it, a text script, an email script, a way to start conversations and talk to as many people as possible, follow up with your leads, and commit that time for a few hours to talking to people. Then on Monday in particular, we're going to have a group call with our coach where she will go over, tips, tricks, or more income producing activities, call it. Monday, it's also important if you're on a team like ours to update your transaction coordinator with what is happening with your transactions. What's going on with this buyer? What's going on with that listing? So the whole team is in the know and knows what's happening with that. Then you're going to continue your lead generation activities, because if you're not working on the activities to generate more business, it's going to get awfully quiet eventually. Have some lunch, take a break, hang out with the team, always a great time, and then plug back in for a bit and get back into those lead generation activities before taking off for appointments and servicing your active business for the afternoon and the evening. Then in the next morning,
the tale of the real estate agent, unfortunately, is most agents start to prospect and market, and they do this over and over again, and they start to get a little bit of business and more business and more business, and all of a sudden they get really busy and they forget to keep prospecting. And then their business starts to slow down and come down. It's this roller coaster ride. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh man, where's my next transaction coming from? And they start to market and prospect again, and they see the same wave up, and then they get busy and they stop to do it again. So it's this constant ebb and flow of prospecting to get business, getting too busy. They don't continue to prospect, and then eventually they're looking for that next sale. So it's critical to keep that pipeline full through a focus on lead generation activities each and every day.
Absolutely. Time and time again, we see that cycle, and it's crucial to try to avoid it, which is why you'll see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, lead gen activities. Saturday, Sunday, those open houses, those are lead gen activities. That's where you're going to meet buyers. It's also where you can meet sellers. Plenty of sellers will walk into an open house and you may not realize it, but they're a neighbor beginning to interview you for their listing at some point. So crucial. Also important on here, role play, sharpen the axe, practice those conversations, practice handling those objections, so you're prepared when it comes time to do it in front of a client. Lead follow-up and appointment prep, always important. We have that on Wednesday, in addition to our sales meeting or our monthly team meeting, to go over what our team goals are, what our individual goals are, and how are we looking for the month? What do we still need? How can we help each other? And what type of conversations can we have? And then Friday, again, we have the winner's circle there. So great stuff here. The key to this whole thing, time blocking.
A lot of people get into this business saying, I got in because I can create my own schedule. I can be my own boss. And I often say it's true. You can pick any 80 hours of the week that you want to work. It's completely up to you. But if you want to get to that level, it's a lot of work. There's no way around it. If you want to be that full-time agent, not the part-time hobbyist, this is what your schedule is likely going to look like.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. We talked a lot about our team, solo agents, different aspects there. So let's talk a little bit more about a solo agent, John. We were both solo agents for many years. Myself for about 10. I think you were a solo agent for what, 6 or 7 maybe?
Yeah, I think it was about 6.
Okay.
And there's certainly pros and cons to each. And one, some people prefer to be a solo agent, and some people always want to be on a team. There's no right or wrong. It's more, what is the best fit for you? So some benefits to being a solo agent is you're in full control. You make all the decisions about the business and you retain all of the profits. You have the flexibility to set your own schedule and work methods, as opposed to if you're on a team, you have to follow the team schedule. There may be meetings or trainings that you have to work your schedule around. And another benefit to being a solo agent is personal branding. You build a brand around your unique vision and values. Now, some of the downsides to that is when we went over all those admin tasks, you have to wear all the hats as a solo agent. So you have to handle the marketing, you have to handle the paperwork, all the admin tasks, all the follow-up, the CRM management. It's all on you. And that can certainly become a lot to juggle. So again, no support, the lack of the admin and peer support as well. I know our team loves collaborating with each other. We role play together. We share ideas. Agents help each other out. They'll talk about what's working and not working, or, hey, can you role play the listing presentation with me or the buyer presentation with me, and work together to push each other and grow together. And also lastly, for a solo agent, you have budget restraints that may limit access to advanced tools and technology. For example, Zillow. Some teams throw tens of thousands of dollars monthly at Zillow leads. So if you're a solo agent, trying to throw a couple $100s at it, you're just not going to get the voice, and you're probably not going to get enough leads to really do anything.
Probably going to be a waste of money in that scenario, in my opinion. I believe if you're not one of the top 3 agents in a zip code on portals like that, it's going to be next to impossible to see a positive return on your investment. And that's just where the numbers are. I mean, those big teams are certainly purchasing large segments of those impressions and eyeballs online, and that's what's working. So,
absolutely.
But solo agents there's a lot of great solo agents. There are certainly some agents I know that shouldn't be on a team, and there are others that I think would certainly highly benefit from being on a team. So let's talk a little bit about the pros and cons of a team. John and I started our team back in 2016. He was, egging me on to do so for many years, and it finally broke down. And I got to say, I wish I did it many years before that. I think there's so many pros to being on a team. I think it's a wonderful avenue to explore, especially for newer agents. But one of the main pros is specialization. There are people on teams that specialize in different aspects of the transaction. We don't do this on ours of breaking down listing agents or buyer agents, but we do have people who focus on marketing, or a transaction coordinator with the admin tasks, a photographer, inside sales for lead follow-up and nurturing. There's so many different specialists on a team that can really take some of those things that may not be your strong suit, and they can take that off of your plate. Support system. You get benefits from administrative support, like that transaction coordinator or operations manager, and collective knowledge of the entire team. And shared resources. The more collective success that you have creates more clout and leverage for you to, do things like those Zillow advertising, or all of the tools and technology, all of the different print materials that you may not be able to afford or do on your own. But with the team, you have access to all of those different strategies that can help you sell more business. Some cons, obviously, all this comes at a cost. Typically, the splits on a team are a little bit lower. I'm a firm believer that you shouldn't be looking at the split, but what is your actual take-home net pay? 100% of nothing is still nothing. But yet, if you're on a team that's plugged in, X percent of a whole lot of business can certainly translate to a better take-home pay. Scheduling, coordinating with team schedules, attending team meetings and events. It can be, somewhat challenging at times to do that, but certainly I believe the benefit is there. And then brand identity. Sometimes having to work within a team's branding is certainly somewhat restrictive in certain circumstances. We believe in putting our agents out on all of their own listings, their faces, their names, as opposed to the way some other teams operate. But still, certainly there is guidelines and, branding that we need to adhere to. So there are some of the pros and cons about a team structure.
Team branding can be powerful, though. Name recognition, reputation, and track record of success, with
For
market
sure.
share.
Definitely. Potential earnings. Everyone gets into this business thinking they're going to make $1 million a year or whatever it may be. And there are certainly agents out there making a barrel of money. There's no doubt about it. We have agents in our office. I know other agents who are making multiple six-figure incomes. It is possible. It is not easy. I just read a report today. The National Association of Realtors, their membership nationwide just dipped below 1.5 million realtors. Last year, 49% of realtors did not sell a single home. It is not an easy business. It is extremely competitive. Mm-hmm. Even just here in Rhode Island, there's over 7,000 realtors and teams, and there's only a little over 600 active listings on the marketplace. That shows how competitive it can be. And the most recent stats that I could find in preparing this presentation was that the median gross income of realtors in 2022 was a little over $56,000. And the median gross income of realtors with over 16 years of experience was $81,000. Mm-hmm. So not an easy business, but it's also, in my opinion, the thing I love most about this business is no one tells you what you're worth. It is completely up to the man or woman in the mirror and how much work, energy, and effort you're willing to put in each and every day, and how much you're willing to learn to become that subject matter expert in your marketplace.
Yeah, took the words right out of my mouth. You're going to get out of this business what you're willing to put into it. You can make a lot less than 56,000, but you can make a lot more than 56 or 81,000. It all comes down to what you're willing to put into it.
Excellent. Moving along, that concludes our presentation. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat, and we'd be happy to answer those for you. Give it a minute or two, and if nothing pops up, we can continue on and wrap it up for this webinar. Any final thoughts, John?
I thought this was a great time. Hopefully people found it beneficial, and it gave them some background on what's involved in both getting into the real estate industry, not just from a day, but from day upon day, week. What's your weekly schedule, and what is it actually going to take for success in this business? Oh, thank you, Phil.
I couldn't agree more. It's a wonderful business. I love it. I think to be successful at it, you have to love it. You have to love helping people. Quick story, I still remember my first sale. It was in my neighborhood because I got approved for a mortgage before I ever even bought a house. And, I went to our broker and I said, what do I do to get some business? And he encouraged me to send out some letters and start farming my neighborhood. And I received I sent out letters, and lo and behold, it generated a phone call from a neighbor just 3 or 4 houses up from my house. And this was right at the tail end of the last bubble. It was like 2007 timeframe. And the prices hadn't yet crashed. And I put on this 4-bedroom house. It was a 4-bedroom cape. It wasn't that big. It was like 1,300 square feet. But I put it on, and a family of 4 came along. I'm sorry, a family of 6, 2 parents, 4 children came along. They'd been looking. It wasn't even my client, but they had been looking for over a year or two, hadn't found anything, had made multiple offers, couldn't find anything with 4 bedrooms that suited their family's needs and their price range. This came along. It was a very smooth process. Thankfully, I had great guidance behind me. And I remember just the pure appreciation and emotion that they shared. I was hooked right away. I mean, I wanted to help more and more people constantly going forward. I mean, I couldn't get rid of that feeling. And I still love calling buyers to this day, letting them know that their offer was accepted. I love calling sellers and surprising them with the success that we're able to produce when a home goes on the market. You have to love that stuff, or it's just not going to be sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how rewarding was it, telling that family that they got that home after a long search? Or you watch buyers now make oftentimes multiple offers. And when you can finally call them and tell them that their offer was accepted, they found, their forever home or their first home, it's the greatest feeling there is.
It's the best. Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, that's how to reach us. Feel free to scan that QR code. You can find out more about us, and we'll look forward to hopefully talking with you soon. Thanks so much. Have a great night.